This episode is called Rumpole and the Golden Thread. What the golden thread is, and what has frequently been said, is that the jury system is the golden thread that runs through British justice. And of course it's being attacked by politicians today who are trying to diminish it, but it's what Rumpole believes in and what I believe in. And he goes off to defend a politician in an African country which in fact doesn't have juries, and that this man is accused of murder. And Rumpole says that he has two articles of belief. One is the jury system, and the other is that he always fights to win. But when he fights to win, is it exactly what his client wants? The politics of this African state are so complex that perhaps it isn't, but you'll find out all about that when you watch it, and you'll hear Rumpole again arguing the case for the golden thread of British justice, trial by jury, and the presumption of innocence.
The Temple, England, Horace Rumpole.
We are the pilgrims, Master. We must always go a little further.
This plate's not properly washed up, Rumpole.
Away, for we are ready to a man. Our camels sniff the evening and are glad. Lead on, O masters of the caravan. Lead on, O merchant princes of Baghdad.
I don't know why you always choose the washing up, Rumpole. Why can't you dry?
Well, washing is more fun.
Not when you leave bits of gravy untouched by the mob.
Oh, what's it matter? A bit of yesterday's gravy never hurt anyone. You might be glad of that one day. It may be beyond the last blue mountain, barred with snow, across that angry or that glimmering sea.
I really don't know what you're talking about.
Let's face it, Hilda, there's not much adventure going on Gloucester Road, is there? Unless you count the thrilling choice between wiping the dishes and sloshing them about in a mess of plastic bottled soap-sups.
Well, I think you're getting a little too old for adventure.
Do you? Do you know where I spent the last 3 weeks? In an earth-shaking case of unpaid value-added tax on plastic egg-timers in Sydenham. Sydenham. Travels Rumpole east away. Not this week.
Take the cloth and help me with the rest of the line. 2045. Hilda Rumpole speaking. Just who? Justicia. Who is she, Rumpole?
She is a sort of blind goddess, Hilda, who goes around lugging a blooming great sword and a pair of scales. Rumpole speaking. Yes, Justicia International. Yes, I know your organization. Who? David Mackenzie. Of course I remember him. I taught him in Crammers.
Who is it, Rumpole?
Well, I see the occasional reference in the Times. Oh, he's got himself into a bit of trouble out there, has he? Lunch tomorrow? Yes, of course. Whereabouts? The Venezia in Fleet Street, certainly. 1 o'clock. Fine. Yes, I'll see you then. Bye.
What's the matter with you, Rumpole? You look very pleased with yourself. Oh, but of course course. Dodo McIntosh is coming to stay next week. She'll be with us for 2 whole days. Isn't that nice?
Dodo's descending on us, is she? That makes it even better.
Makes what better?
We take the Golden Road to Samarkand.
David Mazenzi, prisoner at the bar.
Stand.
With regard to your application for bail, pending your trial for the willful murder of Bishop Carelli, this application is refused.
As I would have expected.
With regard to your application for legal representation, there are many most experienced Narangan counsel available to you.
How many who are not in the Prime Minister's pocket?
On that application, judgment is reserved.
So that you can get your instructions from on high.
Take him down.
Yep, standing.
Prime Minister,
My dear Worthington,
this is indeed an honor.
and for me.
Naranga, a lump of land carved out by the British, who called it New Somerset. Capital, Nova Lombardo, deeply divided into 2 tribes, the Apu and the Mutatu, who hate each other's guts. So much so that if an Apu man marries a Mutatu girl, both their families throw them out, and they're cursed forever.
The sort of thing goes on in Surrey.
Yes. Well, Prime Minister, Dr. Christopher Mabile, a member of the Mutatu tribe, warriors and headhunters not so long ago.
Oh.
He's a Marxist, educated by the Jesuit fathers who sent him to Belio. Got his medical degree in Moscow, post-grad in Cuba. When the country got independence, he had to have a token Apu in his cabinet, so he made David Mazenzi his Minister of Home Affairs. There he is.
Ah, yes, that's David. He looks a lot older than I remember. Oh, of course, that's to be expected, isn't it?
David is one of the more peaceful Apus. The British locked him up for about 10 years, but he never bore a grudge. Moderate socialist, good friend to Justicia, sound on land reform and contraception. Excellent chairman of the famine program. An absolutely marvelous voice.
Yeah. Did he do it, do you think, Miss Pinkerton?
It's a thrilling sort of voice. Of course, the Apu people absolutely worship David.
But did he do in the dear old bishop?
We've had reports from reliable sources that Mobile's got David locked up in the most ghastly conditions. There could have been torture.
Miss Pinkerton, did our David do it?
Do you know, I don't know whether we've actually asked him that. Hello, ma'am. Might find some... Oh, here's Pam.
We've had a cable from Jonathan Mazenzi.
David's younger brother. He's been a tower of strength. What's it say, Pam?
Barrister Rumpole will be allowed to represent David at trial. Visa being arranged. Greetings, Jonathan Mazenzi.
We're in luck. Is there anything else you want to know?
Yes, what do they give a chap for murder in those particular parts?
It's death, isn't it, Mandy?
Oh, yes. The Prime Minister can't wait to hang David. You've got to save his life.
Is that all? Anything exciting on, Henry?
Afraid not, Mr. Rumpole. There's a little murder down the Bailey, but that won't be for 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, mysterious crime done with a broken Guinness bottle in a crowded pub in Kilburn. Routine stuff, Henry. Legal spam. Inland revenue. No, thank you. I would have thought with your immense talent as a clerk of chambers, you could have found me something a little more exotic.
Well, perhaps you'd care to find your own exotica if you're not satisfied with my clerking, Mr. Rumpole.
I have done, Henry. You shall be receiving a brief from Justicia International. And I am defending the Minister for Home Affairs in the High Court of Naranga.
Oh, you'll be away from chambers?
Yes, of course I'll be away. They shall look for me in the Inner London Sessions and the Uxbridge Magistrates' Court, and they will find me gone. They will whisper among themselves as travels Rumpole east away.
You seem very cheerful about it, Mr. Rumpole.
My camels sniff the evening, Diane, and are glad. Well, she must be a Bade's old school chum, Dodo McIntosh, is coming for a short stay next week. What a pity, I shall miss all those jollifications. Adventure calls, Henry. And how can Rumpole resist it? If there's any crisis, send a cable.
A cable?
Or a pigeon.
Look,
Rumpole, where are you going?
I take the Golden Road to Samarkand. Where are you going? How do you do a case of capital murder? Death if you ask a wrong question. Death if you don't object to the right bit of evidence. Death round every corner in every legal argument. Answer? Do it like every other case. Win it if you can. Win it. Or else.
Object of visit?
Justice.
Open.
I'll bet they never had this on the Golden Road to Samarkand. 18 hours, hurtling through space in a small plastic cigar-shaped tea room with nowhere to put your legs. A hostile glare from the Major General in charge of customs. Just when you're crying out for a spot of shut-eye.
Your clothing?
No, my mosquito net. My wife bought it at the Army and Navy stores, 1951.
Drugs?
No, just my wife's going-away presents. Foot powder.
Huniyi mgeni wa heshima, beba mizigo yake, mtende kama mheshimiwa.
Thank you. Carry on, sir. Oh, allow me, sir.
Thank you.
Horace Rumpole.
A piece of him.
I'm again you in the Mazenza case. Rupert Taboro.
Ah, Mr. Taboro.
Looking forward to seeing how you Old Bailey fellows handle a homicide.
Oh, thank you.
Anything you need, anything at all, just ask for the...
For Mr. Taboro?
The Attorney General.
Oh. Thank you very much indeed.
Don't mention it, old fellow. After all, we learned friends have got to stick together.
Mr. Rumpole.
Yes.
Freddie Rowingo, instructing solicitor.
Oh, how do you do?
You got through the formalities?
Yes, surprisingly.
Good. Come on, I'll take you to the car.
Thank you.
Then we go to the prison.
Yes.
Then we have a reception David's wife and brothers are giving for you. You'll meet the leaders of our Apple People's Party there.
I don't understand why David Mazenzi didn't have some big British QC out here to defend him.
David believes in the very common man, Mr. Rumpole. He just wanted an ordinary little lawyer, like yourself. A perfectly lowly fellow.
Thank you very much.
Oh, but someone typical of British justice. Quite incorruptible. Not drafty in this car, are you?
Oh, no.
Some clever matatu chucked an assegai through the back window. They fall out of the trees, those fellows.
You've come to see David Mazenzi?
Let me introduce Mr. Horace Rumpole, barrister at law, Inner Temple from London. Superintendent Akimbo's special branch.
Superintendent?
They're holding David here at police headquarters. Don't want him mixed up with the plebs at Lombaro jail.
You want to visit our dungeons, Mr. Rumpole?
Yes, I heard about them in London. I would like to see my client, please.
It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Rumpole. You know Croydon well?
Croydon? No, not very well.
I did 6 months with your special branch in London. The old Baptist head in Croydon. Wonderful draft bus. Remember me to it?
Yes.
This way, please. We've got your client chained to the wall down here. You'd better watch out for the rats and the water dripping from the moat. Mr. Mackenzie, gentlemen come all the way from London to see you.
Dear old Horace Rumpole. What's your tipple? Bordeaux, if my memory serves me right. Freddie.
Well, wait till they hear about this in Wormwood Scrubs.
I have few friends in the French embassy.
Oh, yes, well, your friends at Justicia International, however.
Oh, such good chaps, if not all that experienced politically.
Well, they said that you'd be chained to the wall in the Chateau d'If, with rising damp and the bread and water just out of reach.
Even Dr. Death wouldn't dare do that to me.
Doctor?
Le bon docteur Christophe Mabile, the Prime Minister, whose culture is firmly founded on the Inquisition and the KGB.
Stirred up with some of the basic cannibalism of the Matatu tribe.
Forgive Freddie, he makes such primitive remarks. Tribalism is our curse, however, just as the British class system is yours.
Yeah. P.G. Woodhouse.
I think of England so often.
Huh?
I long for your Cotswolds, if Dr. Death ever lets me see them again. If I should die, think only this of me, Horace. There is some corner of a Narangan jailhouse that is forever Morton in the marsh.
I never saw a man facing a death sentence look so confoundedly cheerful. What could it be? The certainty of innocence? Or the wine? Right, now, a dead man, Bishop Tureli.
Oh, a troublemaker as only an African bishop can be. He wanted the Prime Minister's job. He wanted my job. He was always causing trouble between the Apu and the Matatu people. I told you, Horace, tribal hatred is the curse of our politics.
Well, the evidence says that you threatened him. You quarreled outside the Parliament buildings, and you said to the bishop, I'll kill you.
All right. I quarreled with the man. He quarreled with everyone.
Now, his death is set at 9:30 p.m. on the 8th of March. Now, that's when the shots were heard. Where were you then, exactly?
Does it matter?
Of course it matters.
I had a speech to make the next day. An important statement of policy at our Apu People's Congress. So I went out in my car to drive around and think about it.
What time did you go out?
I said in my statement, about 8:30.
And what time did you get back?
After 11. My wife, Grace, made some coffee and we listened to music. I always like to listen to music for half an hour before turning in.
Well, what was the speech? Well, I mean, what were you going to say?
It was a plea for friendship between the Apu and the Matatu people. That we should all work together for the good of Naranga.
Did you ever make it?
How could I? I was arrested.
Ah, yes.
Well, how does it look to you?
Well, cases of identification are always tricky, and I have known healthier alibis.
You won't win this one on alibis, Horace. You want to know what you'll have to rely on.
I'm welcome. I'd welcome suggestion.
The common law of England. The presumption of innocence. You know what you told me. The golden thread which runs through the history of the law. I like that phrase so very much.
You have a remarkable memory for those things I told you all those years ago.
A man is innocent until he is proved guilty. Better that 10 guilty men should go free than one who is not guilty should be convicted. For to convict the innocent is to spit in the face of justice. Do you still use that one, Horace, in your speech to the jury at the old London session?
Well, I'm afraid I do from time to time. After all, a jury in Naranga can't be that different.
Mr. Rumpole?
Members of the jury, the evidence in this case calls for guesswork. Now, you may use guesswork to pick the winner of the derby, but it is no way to bring in a verdict on a capital charge of murder against a fellow human being.
Steady on, Mr. Rumpole. We have no jury.
No jury?
You British abolished jury in murder cases when Naranga was still New Somerset.
We did that?
I must say, Dr. Death followed your example quite enthusiastically.
No jury. What about the judge?
Oh, Worthington Banzana. You remember that old fellow? What did you say he always ordered for tea after death sentences?
Muffins? You mean Justice Twyburn?
Exactly. Our Chief Justice is like your Justice Twyburn, only black, eh, Freddy?
And he is Dr. Death's chicken. He will run for him wherever he wants him to go.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
Hey! Mr. Rumpole.
Ready?
Beer, 7-Up, Scotch on the rocks.
Oh, beer, please.
Let me introduce Grace Mazenzi, David's wife.
Mrs. Mazenzi.
It is good of you to come here.
Nice of you to ask me, as they say.
To save David, I mean.
I can't promise that, you know.
He remembers you so well. He has often talked about you if things went wrong. He has so much faith in you.
Yes, well, I'll do everything I can, I promise you. But in the end, a barrister's not much better than his case. I mean, you can't make bricks without straw.
I don't understand.
Well, we could do with a bit of evidence.
Don't you worry, Grace. No one can harm David. David's one of the immortals. Jonathan Mazenzi, the little brother.
Little John, eh?
Mr.
Oh, thank you, Freddie.
Yes. And was my big brother delighted to see you? His old hero from his student days. He said you used to tease the judges. Oh, yes, he said you used to pull their legs unmercifully.
One or two judicial legs, I suppose, yeah.
And that you always dropped cigar ash down your stomach.
Yes, he would remember that.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What did you tell Grace we needed to win the case for David?
Well, a witness or two wouldn't come amiss.
What sort of witnesses do you want exactly?
Well, someone who saw David on the night of the murder. I mean, he said he was just driving round, composing his speech.
You want some fellows who saw him? Well, I think I can arrange that. How many fellows do you want? Half a dozen?
No, you can't arrange it. I want a witness who will stand up in court and tell the truth.
How very British you are, Mr. Horace Rumpole.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm here as a representative of British justice.
David doesn't need all that humbug. David needs the anger of the Apu people. If David is found guilty, there are 10,000 Apu with their guns hidden in the bush who will rescue him in 1 hour. That's how we win this case. Don't you worry, my dear old barrister.
I'd prefer to rely on the way we do it down the Old Bailey.
No, Dr. Death's gone too far this time. The Apu people are on the move.
I must be on the move, too. Which way is the gents?
You know who my CP the one behind there? Yeah, I am your the moon yak pingin. Oh, yeah, or the Piazzi. I am your. I am your cra. I send them him. Apa barani. Send yami on you what? And she ye will. Now, how are you? Apu Suwa. Missy Apu. 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 Apu.
What's this, a party political broadcast on behalf of the Apu People's Party? Could I have a call tomorrow morning, please, at 6 o'clock, room 51, and some coffee and a copy of the Time? Oh, no, never mind. Rumpole. Rum. Oh.
I met this amazing man who's taken out the plaster off, and I thought I would tell you that... Ah, Mr. Rumpole, I presume.
Rumpole.
All hail, all hail. I've just been having dinner here with Mr. and Mrs. Singapore. We all call ourselves after our countries as diplomats, don't we, Mrs. Singapore? I'm known as Old Mr. Old England. Sir Arthur Remden, British High Commissioner. How do you do?
How do you do?
Now, Mrs. Singapore, this is our notable British barrister. Do you remind me again?
Rumpole.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. Now, you must come and have dinner one evening at the High Commission. Our problem is that the cook is so terribly Anglophile, everything tastes of Bisto. I say, it must be very exciting for you doing a murder trial out here. Topping.
Oh, ripping.
No, I meant topping. Swinging. See, we're very Victorian here in Naranga. It's all Baptist chapels, plum jam, the death penalty. The black cap does add a little zest to a murder trial, don't you think?
I don't imagine my client would think so.
No. Nice person. I must say I was amazed that you got permission to come here.
Oh?
Christopher Marbili must have something up his sleeve. Brilliant politician. We could do with him in Commonwealth relations. Anyway, welcome, Rumpole. We'll throw a little cocktail for you. Come, Mr. Singapore, I'll tell you what I was going to tell you. The thing is that this man...
How fearfully topping.
Welcome, Mr. Horace Rumpole.
Oh, dear. Fresh color, I think. Oh, damn and blasted. Where do I get hold of a collar stud in the middle of the jungle?
Here you are, my learned friend. I had a gross of these little chaps flown in from Harrods. Be my guest.
That's uncommonly civil of you, thank you.
Merely in accord with the best traditions of the bar. I see young Jonathan Mazenze had his friends from Rent and Apu out there to greet you.
Oh, yes, it was very encouraging, I must say, to see the people cheering on my victory.
Your victory? Do you really think that's what they want? Are you Magnus Nagoma?
I am.
You are in government service.
I am permanent private secretary to the Minister for Home Affairs.
The defendant is your boss?
Yes, yes.
He's my boss.
Mr. Nagoma, do you remember a day last July when you went to meet your boss outside the Parliament building?
I do, yes. He was there with Bishop Tarile. They were having an argument.
A heated argument?
Oh, please, don't lead.
I hear my learned friend's objection.
Afraid I didn't, I must confess. Mr. Rumpole, is it no longer customary in England to stand on your hind legs if you wish to make an objection?
Yes, my lord, and I would like to object to a leading question.
It's a very heated argument, yes.
Too late, I think, Mr. Rumpole.
Now, what have I got here? A black Judge Bullingham, but quicker off the mark.
Did the defendant say anything to the bishop?
Yes. He said, I will kill you.
The words were, I will kill you.
Freddie, when I cross-examine, would you remind me this man is a matatu?
Rumpole, please do not hesitate to rise if you have something to say.
I have nothing whatever to say, my lord.
And it is customary to remain silent when speaking. Did not your old pupil master teach you that? Was he not C.H. Whiston of the Inner Temple?
My sainted father-in-law. Has this bird an encyclopedic knowledge of British barristers?
Thank you, Mr. Nagoma.
Mr. Nagoma.
This man is a matatu. Naturally, he's hostile to David.
If you interrupt my cross-examination, I'll kill you.
Mr. Rumpole, there is no jury here.
No, my lord, I'm sorry we abolished that great institution.
That was a jury trick. It was not worthy of a former pupil of Mr. C.H. Whiston.
It was not a trick, my lord. It was a demonstration. I'm about to put the question to the witness.
Put it then, Mr. Rumpole. Without play-acting, please.
Were not the words addressed to the bishop used in the way I have just used them to my learned instructing solicitor as a piece of meaningless abuse?
I don't know that.
Or do you not? Do you not also know what my client and the bishop were arguing about? The Freedom of Religious Instruction in Schools Enabling Bill. It was obvious that the bishop was putting up what is called a filibuster, arguing for hours in order to delay matters.
I'm sure that is a process well known to my learned friend.
Very good.
Sorry, Horace.
Was it not merely a moment of irritation at some unparliamentary behaviour?
Mr. Rumpole, the witness was outside the parliamentary building. How can he answer?
Well, he can answer this, my lord. Was it meant seriously?
I don't know. Quite honest.
No. Thank you, Mr. Nicholson.
No further questions.
Oh, I never thought the golden road to Samarkand would prove such bloody hard going.
Mr. Rumpole in there, is he?
I think he just slipped out for a moment to Central Africa. You wanted to see him, Mr. Myers?
Fix this little murder of his. Down the Bailey, 29th of the month, 10:30 start.
I'll get him back for you by then. Leave it with me, Myers.
Central Africa? What's Mr. Rumpole gone there for?
I rather gather his wife's got a visitor at home.
Oh, well then. That explains it.
Well, Diane, we've got to get Mr. Rumpole back for the 29th. We can't have him there forever, not sunning himself in the tropics. What did he say? Send him a cable?
If Rumpole's still away, and you're in a bit of a hole, I think I'm free on the 29th.
Not free for murder, Mr. Hoskins, I don't think. You're only free for landlord and contract. Now, Diane, the cable.
The Reverend Kenneth Uzango. You say that when you heard the shots, you jumped from the car and ran with your head down.
Yes.
So you did not see the attacker at that time?
No, I told you, sir. I had seen him through the windscreen.
Through the windscreen. And when you reached home, which was a run of how far?
About 3 miles, not far.
Did you ring the police immediately?
Almost immediately, sir.
Well, what was the first thing you did when you got home?
I changed my clothes. I was soaked to the skin.
Yes, exactly. I have here a meteorological report. There was heavy rain on the night of the 8th of March between the hours of 9 and 11 o'clock.
Didn't I say that?
No, I'm sorry, Reverend, you did not. And when it rains in Naranga, it's no April shower, is it? It's a cataract.
I call it Noah's flood.
Well, why not? So the windscreen of the car must have been streaming with water, and you could not possibly have identified my client.
Could you identify him?
I'm sure I could.
I'm sure I could. You see, Mr. Rumpole.
Yes, my lord, I see. But I'm quite sure the witness could not.
Isn't that the fact which I shall have to decide?
That judge, he wants to hang David. You said you needed evidence.
Yes?
A witness?
Aha. Your brother-in-law has already offered me some, thank you.
Jonathan. He wants to make an apple martyr of David. I want my David alive, though.
You sure I can't get you something to drink?
Nothing, thank you. I have a witness for you. One who tells the truth.
The best sort.
Only one thing is wrong. David would not allow this witness to come for him. If he knew, he would forbid it.
But why ever?
This is a person of the Matatu people. David would never agree to such a witness.
It's the evidence that matters, for heaven's sake, not the family background.
You may know very much law, Mr. Rumpole, but you do not understand our country. Also, I am afraid. David would not want this witness for my sake.
For your sake?
This is something David tried to keep a secret from me. Too late now for secrets. I think so.
Don't look so down in the dumps, old fellow.
Apart from the fact that we are without the benefit of a jury, surely you must have noticed, David, that the judge is against us.
A member of the Matatu tribe and the Prime Minister's little chicken? Why shouldn't he be against an Apu leader? Everything is going as suspected.
We've got to win this case.
Don't worry, old fellow. You are doing exactly what is needed.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
upholding the best traditions of British justice for the foreign press. When we lose, they will know this Dr. Death has no respect for the law. So our revolution will be perfectly justified.
Your revolution?
Yes. Our boys in the bush, Horace. They will attack on the day I'm convicted. No sentence will ever be carried out on David Mazenze. Now then, does that take a bit of a weight off your mind?
Not really. Do you mean I was brought out here to lose this case?
No. You were brought out here to make your speech on the golden thread, Horace.
And then to lose.
It will be Dr. Death who loses in the end. And the judge. Some of our boys in the bush are likely to pass a motion of censure on the old Chief Justice Banzana.
So I was brought out here to lose. No wonder you didn't want an important QC to defend you. Old Horace Rumpole is good enough to utter a few legal platitudes and then accept defeat gracefully, is that it? Well, let me tell you something.
Tell me what, Horace?
No, it doesn't matter now. You know what the golden thread is that runs through British justice?
Yes, Horace, I know.
Well, let me tell you another one. Horace Rumpole considers every case to be winnable until it is lost, because he doesn't know any other way to fight them. And you can tell that to your boys in the bush.
Horace. Ah. Thank you for coming to see me. I really do appreciate all your efforts.
Yeah. Ah, Mr. Tabora.
Oh, my learned friend.
Look.
I'm afraid his lordship is giving you a bit of a bully ragging.
Yes. Under British law, I should serve you with an alibi notice.
Under our law, too.
Well, if I show you a statement, would you object to me calling a new witness?
I shall raise no objection at all to this witness being called at short notice. See you in court, old fellow.
Mr. Rumpole?
Yes, my lord.
Will you be calling evidence?
My lord, I will call Mabel Mazenzi.
No! I object! I will not have this witness. I object!
The defendant will be silent, or I will have you taken below, and the trial will continue in your absence. Call your witness, Mr. Rumpole.
Call Mabel Mazenzi.
A note from our client. He's not very pleased with you.
Another golden rule of British justice, Freddie. No one speaks to Rumpole when he's on his feet.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
You are Mabel Mazenzi?
Yes.
And are you a lady of the Matatu people?
Is she Matatu woman? Is that what you mean?
I was trying to put it a little more elegantly, my lord.
Don't mind the elegance. You Matatu woman?
Yes, sir.
And are you married to David Mazenzi, the defendant in this case?
The officer in charge has told us that your client's wife is called Grace Mazenzi, Mr. Rumpole.
But did he also go through a ceremony of marriage with you according to the tribal customs of the Matatu people on the 8th of March, 1979?
Yes, he did. David and I did. We kept it secret. Both our people would make us great mischief if they knew of it. And David having a wife of his own people also.
The 8th of March this year was an anniversary of that ceremony. Where did David Mazenzi spend that night?
With me.
And where was he between the hours of 9 and 11 o'clock on that rainy evening?
In our house here in Nova Lombaro. He was with me from before 9 o'clock.
And when did he leave?
About 11:15. He went to sleep in his bed at home with Grace, as he had a big speech to make the next day. He thought with me he would not do so much sleeping.
Silence.
Has it been difficult for you to come forward and give evidence in this case?
I think my family will never see me again when they know what I have done with an Apu man.
Then why have you come to give evidence?
Only because I know David cannot have killed the old man. Only because of that. And to save his life.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Mazenzi.
Mr. Tabora? You wish to cross-examine this witness?
No, my lord.
Oh, perhaps my learned friend would help me. Does that mean that the prosecution accepts this witness's evidence?
It simply means, my lord, that we have no questions we wish to put.
Really, my lord, I must insist.
No good insisting, Mr. Rumpole. In the end, it will be a matter entirely for me.
If your lordship pleases.
A cable for Mr. Rumpole.
Cable?
If I might say, it is not a matter entirely for your lordship, but a matter for our common law. When London is nothing more than a memory, and the Old Bailey has sunk back into the primeval mud, my country will be remembered for three things: the British breakfast, the Oxford Book of English verse, and the presumption of innocence. That is the golden thread which runs through the whole history of our criminal law. So that if a man is murdered on the Old Kent Road or on the road to Noble Lombaro, no man shall be convicted if there is reasonable doubt as to his guilt. And at the end of the day, how can any court be certain sure that that fearless young woman, Mabel Mazenzi, has not come here to tell us the plain and simple truth?
Naranga ranks high on the list of civilized countries. We observe the rule of law. This is demonstrated by the fact that we've allowed a barrister from England, a junior barrister. In England, they have quite elderly junior barristers. Barristers as long in the tooth, he will not mind my saying this, as Mr. Horace Rumpole to plead here, as a guest at our bar. Mr. Rumpole has told us nothing that we didn't already know. We know that the man is innocent until proved guilty. This is the golden thread that runs through the law in Naranga. This law is also followed in Britain, I believe. The court has the evidence of identification given by the Reverend Kenneth Kwazango. On the other hand, we have the positive evidence of Mabel Mazenzi, the Matatu woman whom the defendant, a well-known member of the Apu tribe, has married as a second wife, a backward form of indulgence. It is not in the best tradition of the new Naranga Prime Minister, Christopher Mabile. In these circumstances, the court is unable to feel that the prosecution has proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. Acting entirely on the principles of ancient common law, we pronounce on David Mazenzi, whatever we may think of his morality, a verdict of not guilty. Let the defendant be discharged.
You are standing in court.
Oh, bully for you, my old darling. An upright judge, old Worthington Van Zana, and Daniel come to justice. We did it, Freddie. We notched up a triumph. I'm sure you'll agree. Well, we brought the golden thread to Samarkand.
Good win, my learned friend. Heartfelt congratulations.
Well, I'd better go and see my client.
I should warn you, you may not find him particularly grateful.
I probably saved his life.
You also broadcast the fact that the leader of the Apu People's Party had gotten himself hitched to a Matatu woman. Not too good, that, politically speaking. But then I don't suppose you're tremendously interested in local politics. So, before you go, could I have my collar stand back, please?
I'm sorry, I don't speak your language.
We are arresting you in the name of the people of Naranga. Come!
I always knew it. I knew I'd end up in the nick. It was my nightmare, recurring dream from the days when I was a nipper. I'd hardly close my eyes without hearing a voice somewhere. And the least sentence I can possibly pass on you is about 100 years in the chokey. Oh, Lord, extraordinary thing. Perhaps that's what made me take up the law.
Mr. Rumpole, will you please explain this cablegram which we have intercepted? Addressed to you, I think, at the Hotel Majestics. Yeah. Please, you take your time. We have the whole night before us.
Oh, really? Murder fixed for 29th of this month at 10:30 a.m. Henry.
The 29th? That will be in 10 days' time?
Well, in 10 days' time I shall be in London. There's no need for you to worry.
And leaving the dirty side of the business, I suppose, to this Henry. What murder, Mr. Rumpole? And who is your associate, Henry?
Ah, there you are, Rumpole. You know what, my dear fellow? You need a good lawyer.
Splendid reserve. That's what our brilliant Prime Minister always had in mind.
I mean, he wanted me to win.
Please, International Monetary Fund, reassure Barclays Bank and put Christopher Marbili in line for a K at the Commonwealth Prime Minister's Conference. You probably earned him a bally knighthood, apart from the fact that you've seen off David Matzenzi.
Seen him off?
The Apu would never have let him hang. Risen up in their thousands, there are plenty of guns available in the bush, didn't he tell you? But they're a lazy people, and it's nothing but today's verdict to get them going. And they won't lift a finger. The leader who married a Matatu woman.
Sir Arthur. I'd like to know something.
What is it you'd like to know, my dear?
Who killed the bishop?
The old bishop. A politician who'd outstayed his welcome. Of course, we'd know exactly what to do with him in England.
Oh?
It's too bad there's no House of Lords in Naranga.
Ah, Mr. Rumpole.
Prime Minister?
Congratulations, Mr. Rumpole. I hear you put up a first-rate show. You know my Lord Chief Justice, of course, your old sparring partner.
Oh, yes. I have had that satisfaction.
When are you leaving us?
Tomorrow.
Pity. You should have stayed longer. Gone up country. We could have shown you some of our old tribal customs.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think I've seen some. The body of Mr. David Matzenzi, believed to have been killed by a faction of his own Apu People's Party, which is now led by his younger brother, Mr. Jonathan Matzenzi. There has been no arrest to date, according to the Office of the Attorney General, Mr. Rupert Taboro. There you are. Country that still believes in the death penalty.
Matzenzi, Apu, Rupert Taboro. Extraordinary names.
Oh, yes, almost as odd as Rumpole or Dodo McIntosh.
Wasn't it good of Dodo to stay on another week so that you could see something of her, Rumpole?
Yes. Oh, well, must be off.
You will be home early, won't you, dear? Dodo does like her game of three-handed whist, you know.
Oh, yes, I know. Oh, chatbox.
Where are you off to today, dear? Not Samarkand, is it?
No, Hilda, I'm off to Chambers. Samarkand is definitely off.